Okay, it's 9 o'clock, so let's get started, and we are live on YouTube. I'll remind people of that. And also, if you have a cell phone, please mute it or turn it off. This is a special called meeting of Mills County Commissioners Court. It was properly publicly posted 72 hours in advance, dealing with a couple of time-sensitive issues. Our regular meeting is next Monday and will continue as posted. Present in the courtroom are Commissioners Parton and Wright, and myself, the county judge. That's 3 of the 5 members of Commissioners Court, which constitutes a quorum and makes this a legal meeting. Okay, that being said, we are in session. We are going, because of the size of the meeting and the limited agenda, dispense with the opening formalities. We do have an audience with individuals, and Ms. Deidre Reinhardt has signed up to speak about consolidation of redistricting. I'm sorry, my eyes are not good. If you would, we have a microphone on a stand over here. If you could get to it, otherwise we could bring you the mic. Okay.
Do I need to stand over there, or can I?
I think by standing over there, we thought we had you on the camera, but we may have fouled that up with our stand. Okay, you can. The main thing is to have the microphone so the people that are not in the courtroom can hear you, because they can hear you fine, but the people on YouTube that are watching this recorded can't.
I'm good at projecting.
Okay, well, use the mic.
I don't know if this really concerns to the redistricting. I wasn't exactly sure what that was going to mean. And this is probably out of the lines of what I wanted to talk about, probably coming up later, is the consideration of ag value on the reduced number of acres. Like I said, I realize that's probably not what's coming in to play, but I know that some people are saying that's a statewide requirement, but we learned it's county by county, and it might be coming up in another meeting, but that you have to have more than 10 acres or more to get ag value on the land, on the property tax rolls. And I just wanted to speak up against that, because I have a ranch and I have a small acreage on the outskirts of town under 10 acres, and I've continually had animals on it. And I've been told, well, you'll be grandfathered in, but then what about the ones that aren't grandfathered in that buy these small acres thinking they're going to get ag value? And I have a son that plans on building on under 10 acres and having animals, and that would keep him from being able to have ag value. It keeps people that aren't rich from being able to pay their property taxes. So that's really the main reason I came, although I am interested in the redistricting.
Well, thank you very much. Okay. The first item on the agenda is a consideration of burn ban, and I've given each of the commissioners a map of a Texas drought map. There's really 2 issues. One's moot, but if a county is going to ban aerial fireworks for the holiday season, it must do it by December 15th. There's a requirement to ban fireworks. You can only do it aerial fireworks. Now, this is rockets and things like that. If the drought index in the county is 575 or higher. This is a calculation that's done by the Forest Service. It's called the Keach something index. It's updated daily on the internet to give you today's value is not there, but for Mills County for yesterday, the county, it varies around the county, as everybody knows. The county ranges from 473 to 612, with a countywide average then of 519. So this, although this is the deadline for banning fireworks over the holidays, aerial fireworks, we do not meet the qualifications, and there's no proposal to do that. But I wanted the court to be aware that we looked at that. The second part of it is a ban on outdoor burning. This, with the exceptions in our standard burn ordinance for barbecue grills, covered fires with screens on them, things like that. But I was requested to consider, to both Commissioner Williams and I were requested that it be considered by Goldthwaite Volunteer Fire Chief David Swartz. They've had a number of calls. The grass is very dry, and it takes a lot of extra effort and manpower to contain a burn. The requirements for that are twofold. One is if the index is over 575, which it's not, and the other, though, it's an alternative, is if the commissioners determine there is a substantial risk from wildfire, from outdoor burning in the county. So that's a discretionary call that we have been asked to make by our volunteer fire department. I would propose, I would recommend it, but I'd recommend we do it a little differently than we've done in the past, where the maximum length of time for a burn ban is 90 days. That's statutory. We've had times come up during our burn ban where it looked like burns were appropriate, and then by the time you got them dealt with, the window was shut. So I'd propose we consider a ban for a period of 30 days. Well, I'll say approximately 30 days to our next regular commissioners court meeting, the second Monday, fourth Monday in January. And that way, each month we can look at it and make a decision. And if we just automatically have it on the agenda to do it every other meeting. But that's the request before us. That's the information I have. If any discussion.
How about fires? Have we had very many, Judge? Have they reported? I know the Moline fire, but it started at a house, didn't it, right?
Yeah, it was a trash fire at the house that got away and almost got to the house. So that probably wouldn't have been avoided by a burn ban, but it's been cited by the fire department about how dry and how rapidly fires are spreading nowadays. I believe Fire Chief Swartz' comment to me earlier this week was that they'd had 6 fires recently. He had some quote that I didn't write down on the number of man hours that they had spent, number of vehicles that had been required to use to contain them. And I've asked for a incident report on an ongoing basis, and he's promised it, but I don't have that yet, so I can't give you any hard numbers. But his quote was there have been 6 recently, and yes, that one was a trash fire that got away, would not have been prevented by a burn ban, but was a indication of how quickly things are spreading and how dry the country is.
I know the mornings were kind of down, but it didn't take long for it to dry out.
No, actually, and I'm hoping we can wrap this up by.
Commissioner Wright, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you pull your mic down a bit? Thank you.
By 10 o'clock, I have the state actually has a call with the emergency management coordinators on a fire hazard alert they've got. It looks to me like it's mostly to the west of us, but not by much. There is a front coming through with much lower humidity and high winds, although much colder temperatures.
Well, I wouldn't have a problem, but like I say, for 30 days, we could take it off. Like I say, what's the 4th meeting in January?
Yeah, the 4th Monday.
The 4th Monday?
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be taking it off. It would be ending, and we'd have to make a decision to put it back on. Well,
has any other fire chief contacted you in the county?
No, he is the only one that has. Now, they're also the largest department and cover most of the area.
Sure.
Have you had any feedback, Commissioner Park?
We hadn't had anything. Everybody's been quiet, but it's pretty dry.
Well, I would, I move that we ban outdoor burning using our standard burn ban requirements with the standard exceptions for a period of 30 days.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Now, the main reason for the meeting is a discussion of the redistricting scenarios. The Commissioner Parton requested this. We have, as required, advertised in the Eagle for the last 2 weeks of a public hearing on our next Commissioners Court meeting, which is Monday, which is a required step in the redistricting process before the court can take any action. So there's no action that can be taken today. Just for the little historical benefit, the Mills County Census populate for 2020 is 4,400, and I think it's 58, and that's down about 400 people from 10 years ago. Redistricting is required by the state if your local districts vary in population, census population by more than 10%. The only local districts we have in Mills County are commissioner precincts. We do not have justice of the peace precincts or constable precincts. So we're just talking about the 4 commissioner precincts, which the Constitution requires us to have. With 4,458 people, if each precinct was equal on a census basis, it would have 1,115 people in it. Actually, what we've got, and this is from memory, is a range on the small side, and it's precinct 3. It's about 977 people, and on the large side, it's precinct 2 with 1,000, I think it's 187 people. And the other 2 precincts are in the middle. Anyway, the cumulative variance on the number of people from the recent census in the precincts is 25%. It's 24.8. But so that's more than 10%. That therefore the Secretary of State requires us to redistrict to get the population in each of the commissioner precincts within so we're within that 10% error range. I wanted the commissioners to understand what's behind it, have a handout for you here and one for the clerk. And this is just to give you an example. The census works, the smallest unit in a census is called a census block. And what the map shows, and it's just an example map, we have this for the whole county. This is sort of the north side of the city of Goldthwaite, or the general area of the north side of the city of Goldthwaite, with the census blocks drawn in red, and each one of those blocks has a number associated with it. We then have data from the Census Bureau, which is the page I gave you that looks a lot like just a spreadsheet full of numbers. There's actually 508 census blocks in Mills County. And so those are all listed on a very large spreadsheet. And I just printed this one page of it, and I circled one census block on this map to give you an example. So a little block there called, I can't even get my magnifier.
3025.
3025. It looks like it's on the north side of, or north or east side of 84 north of town. It's hard to tell sort of generally where that might be. But so just to show you how things work, that's the census block. You go over to the page of numbers and you find block 3025. And then in the right-hand column is the number of people in the census in block 3025. And that's, in this case, is 0. So we could put block 3025 literally anywhere and it wouldn't change a thing. That's not the point. The point is merely to show you how you have to work from the geography of the blocks back to the table to find out how many people are there. And then as we move things, be able, and every movement affects two sides. It affects the precinct it was in, and it goes down, the precinct it's going to goes up. So that's what's been going on in this scenario building over the last, I'd say, month. And we have created, and I think you've got them, 3 or 4 scenarios. Actually, we've been through a total of 9 scenarios, but we only had 4 that got the variance 10% or under. And so what we have, what you have is those scenarios, and they largely involve moving census blocks on the north side of Goldthwaite from one precinct to another. The way this will ultimately work, and I think I may walk around and try and do this. We made some acetate overlays for the map. The map's not showing on the camera the way it is. I think for a public hearing, we may move it into the middle of the room, flip through it, and be able to look at the big map. But nothing really changes except within about a several mile radius around the north side of Goldthwaite. The goals are, the requirement is to get the variance under 10%. The other goals are to try and minimize the disparity of county roads each precinct has to maintain. Right now, precinct 3, which has the smallest population, has 127 miles of road.
27.
And other precincts have road mileages that range from, in the 110-ish range. So our smallest population precinct already has the most roads. And since everybody has the same number of workers, this is just creates an uneven distribution of work. And this is before you consider all the other variables around the county. So as we move people into precinct 3 for compliance purposes, we're sensitive to not aggravating the road disparity. And the final consideration, and it's a local consideration, not a Secretary of State. They don't care about it, but we'd like to minimize the number of people this affects, because everybody that affects, they'll be voting in a different place. They'll be, the only thing that on their ballots that'll change will be which commissioner precinct they're voting for. But it's change. And so we could completely reshuffle the whole county, or we could try and find the smallest possible area that might affect 40 people. So, or 50 or 30 or some other number. So these scenarios have taken all of those into effect. They all get to the compliance issue, which is the legal requirement. And the other issues are local issues. So that's what's in front of you. I believe Jackie Brooks, who has done most of the work, and believes that scenario H is the best answer. Is that correct, Jackie?
No, sir. I was thinking scenario I was the best.
Okay, thank you. Scenario I. So that's an overly long, my soliloquy of the background, how this works. What we want to do for the public hearing on Monday is present the public with multiple scenarios and get their comment on them. So these 3 or 4 scenarios you've got, any of them would work legally. So those were the ones we proposed to present publicly for public discussion on Monday. If there are other scenarios that work, we obviously can do it, although there is a lot of work that goes into finding the little precinct blocks, having the numbers, drawing them on a map, and running a compliance test. So it'd be very difficult as we get much further in the day to come up with big changes at this point. But if there's things that we should consider, this is the time to be talking about it, and Jackie is all ears.
Just looking at the map, I can't tell where anything. And I mean, I'll express that when you look at census map, you lose your road. There's none of them in the census block bills, even though they're blown up. I can't read the numbers on them, not even with your magnifying glass. So, me to look at census maps, I've got to look at the road maps or the county road map to see where the roads are at.
Dale, one thing you were concerned about too is trying to come in the Goldthwaite. You're the only precinct that does not come into Goldthwaite, correct?
Yeah.
And precinct or the map I still doesn't show them coming into Goldthwaite.
Well, it shows you coming down, but without the where the roads are at, I can't tell where you're coming down to.
Ms. Brooks, if we looked at the overlay over the underlying map, would that show us the roads?
Yes, sir, it would. Right now I have a G though on the map.
Okay.
Because that's what the commissioners talk about more than anything.
Yeah, I realize that.
By the road.
But my understanding from Commissioner Parkin was that he did not want to come into the city of Goldthwaite. Did I get that wrong?
It don't matter to me. The big deal is the fact that we've already have at least 17 miles and 27 miles more road upkeep than the other precincts.
Yep.
Now the first meeting or workshop that we had, we thought we had it worked out with the deal across 2005 with the census stuff. Well, then it came back that some of these census blocks coming into Goldthwaite are extremely small on 505. So I don't really know how that's working or coming into play.
Let's go around the table. I mean, if you're watching this on YouTube, we apologize for going off camera. We will try and hold the microphone.
That's a voting precinct. These are
That's H.
Is G.
Yeah, that's one. Yeah, do aspects there. Why we are. Let's see.
You're trying to get
Yes.
Over that map.
Yeah. Okay. Will it still be on the cameras?
It will if you move it. If you
All right,
move
let's move. See if we can line up the county line and then I'll tell you.
I'm going to,
That's kind of solid, isn't it? Let's scoot it over, you said?
If you look, you can see how close you are on the screen.
Okay, now we've got the map on the camera.
Judge,
It's,
don't turn that on, I have it back off.
thank you. Okay, we've got the map on the camera. We've taken the overlay and put it over a road map county. You need the magnifying glass now. Now, this is scenario H. You were, Ms. Brooks, you were talking about I, correct?
Yes, sir.
Is
Scenario I was the least amount that I moved over.
Is overlay I up here in the courtroom?
Yes, sir, it is.
If we can put it on top of this. Sure.
It's reversing. It's not to the audience on YouTube, it's reversed.
They can tell by the shape of the camera, they know the shape of the camera.
Okay, now we've got here's this. It starts like that county, there's the county road, if you can read it, I'll get the magnifier.
See, that comes down to the railroad tracks, Bill. What's that shows? Now, coming in precinct 3 and precinct 2, this is the railroad track. That's what this.
Would that be County Road 100?
No, sir. 100 is on up above it.
Okay.
It's about 500, 100 is above it.
Where does it? See, that's what I'm, where does it?
Yeah. This one, it shows, then.
Am I right? This is the precinct line.
Yes.
That's what it shows.
Which would be where we're off, but
Yeah.
that's 84.
And what's this one, probably 505?
505 is up above it.
Okay, well,
This road.
No, this is in town, that's probably out towards.
yeah,
But
there's some roads there that they're really hard to read.
It is, I can't see it, even on this one too.
Now, here is a larger print in cell.
Mike, in the packet, there is a blown up version of Goldthwaite, the town of Goldthwaite.
But that shows.
That's just the town. This is above coming in, and this is not. What shows me.
We may got this one.
Yeah, that's, here's the town, and here's the stop, and
Here, this is the blow up that Brooks is talking about. That is scenario G. Here, that's Mike will flip through here. If I can't do it over the mic, find the eye to see if we can get the blow up. That's not. Yeah, let's get, there should be more detail on that.
So that shows Mike where he's at now.
correct.
I
don't have any, that's on the line. That one.
Okay.
When they're in here, if you want to look at it.
I chose Mike. Continue like he is.
Correct, comes all the way through town. That's what it's showing, that's what it's showing here on this map. Yeah. And it shows precinct 2. I don't know where the railroad tracks, it's simply Fisher Street now. Main Street. But I don't know where she's stopping.
Unless that's what comes in. Nope.
Well, we're looking at two scenarios. I mean, you got two pieces of plastic. So this is I, and it stops. No, this is I.
I stops. H does not. H comes over through.
Yeah. This
I stops.
if we roll this up, that is H.
That is correct. It comes through town. This is one we're looking at right here. Correct?
Yeah.
That's the way it is now.
Yes. That part is, yeah. And then this is I. And see, he's still coming through town here. This may be a little narrow, but you're coming down toward here and stopping there.
That's outside of town.
Yeah, it is.
That's outside the city limits.
Right.
And that, you can't tell on this map what that road. And it's gonna be close to what you're saying, 500 and 100.
Yeah, that's what it shows.
That shows the bud like that. And that one shows, well, that's 505. Kind of go 505 right beside on the curve of town. This is 500. This could be 505.
And that one's we're talking about from the original there.
Right, that's 505.
The highway side of 505, if you want to call it that.
Correct.
Yes, that's what Lori's.
Down and Park Coast, we're going to take the block out of precinct 2 and then back up to the
Correct.
And that's it right here.
And let's make sure that you're looking at one. It looks like now you're taking the block out there, except
There's two blocks on one for this one,
yeah,
I, and the H is underneath it. You're going down.
yeah.
That's what you're deciding.
Either I or H works for getting to the required variances.
But the one we came up with, this place is not.
No, when we got all the people in it, it didn't get us within the.
How many people were taken out of precinct 2? Is that?
Well, we've got, off the top of my head, I can't tell you. It should show
At one time, it's gonna be 50.
on that calculation, it might show right in that type.
It was gonna be 63. And then 18 precinct 1, 63 for 2. We're adding 88 to precinct 3. You're taking 7 to precinct 3. And that do everything. And
Yeah, and then somewhere down here will be a percent.
8%, that shows the price. That's good.
Okay, that was like the county road, 212 and 217.
Yeah, we were trying, I think this was all done with the goal of not adding roads to 3.
I think that's the concern I heard, is that they didn't want to add any more roads to precinct 3.
Yeah.
And so they were just trying to do.
But we have to add people.
People to, and not add any roads. And I think Dale was concerned with 500 and 100.
Yeah, you want to put a piece of paper there, put a piece of paper there, you can't see the map.
I guess the only question I've got here is
Where
where
that
they
is.
should show they. I don't remember how.
Coming off the hill, where I live.
Well, here's 84, it comes down this way and turns and goes there. Here.
That is correct. It turned all the way down.
We have coming.
See, this Brownwood's here,
No, down here.
Main Street's over here.
Correct. It's on down. That's what I'm saying. That's just a loop on the hill. But yeah, 84 comes on down here. in town, where it's a approach on.
Yes, it makes it close to that.
Yes, that's just a loop on the hill. That's what
The
the
loop up on the hill.
Well, does this help? Here you can see. Well, this is more or less the city limits, so. I can't read upside down.
I mean, the main thing that gets census concept, but the main thing is we have to change the boundary line so much that we get more.
That's the goal. What, maybe it'd be more productive.
we'll look at that, we'll come through town. Same thing.
Well, if it's no name for it, no ground name for it.
I'm sure that's just a little. And what we're talking about is in the wall. We're stopping outside the city.
You're right. This is not aimed for. Yeah, that's something else. I think 84 comes in with that.
That probably drops out of the hill to the left corner to the pool. I don't want Darren's house now.
Okay, if you live in that, okay. This is some type of water.
Yes.
It's not even the road.
At
The
least,
road comes down, this follows, the road comes, whatever this is. It's not a road.
yeah, every boundary here is either a road or a creek. Okay. In some cases, it could be a road, but it's not. That's every census block roads. That.
That shows, that's not, and that lady, that's on the road.
I think, yes, I thought there was a change right here.
I didn't see it change. Let me look underneath. Oh, he's losing 7 people, so it shouldn't be much of a change for him.
Yeah, you can.
He's losing 7 people. That's all he's losing. So,
Well, which it should, because he's the $1.11
and it should be. Good.
So to make the numbers work, he's got to get smaller, you've got to get more. And all the other ones just to try to minimize the road.
No, I'm never there would be levy.
Well, looking at,
Yeah, I mean, we can look at them all.
looking at that, like I'm saying, what's our losing? Grace is just losing 7 people. He's not moving very much.
Although you can move stuff around in some places and not move people.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, well, that was like a little example.
There's one, somewhere in this area.
It's been in the
Big
general
percentage spread that we're going to in here, we like to have that movement that comes into.
But we still watch that. It's on YouTube and then
Well,
remember that you can.
you know what might be productive? It would be to either leave this up here, get Jackie up here, move down the office, get me out of it, so we're not a public meeting. And you guys can work through it.
Well, if we look at
with
if
your
I
knees
got
out.
Jack, that's
Yeah.
where the precinct line that the motor body one of them.
Yeah,
And then we'll have the discussion
Yeah.
on the way for money.
yeah, your goal was to understand it before Monday, and my goal was to try to figure out how we're going to do this. And seeing that this probably isn't just right for the public. So,
Right now, behind you.
okay.
That was a big issue, trying to come in and go for it. That's what I like.
an issue, people wise, or I think what you're gonna get, is, I know you got people, but the people already, like, we got some, you got some. Well, the people are already on satisfied. Or sorry.
Yeah, briefly, we've already solved that issue. Jed,
I know, but the people don't like
will vote for Jed and his precinct.
because you do the road.
No.
Or that, or whichever way it
Well,
is.
people like to be able to vote for
Whoever's doing the road.
Yeah.
I've got the same thing on 259 already. Carol Lane took that road over here. From Lake, or our precinct. Well, things a bit like along, so why don't we vote for you? Or why does Jed do your road, their road, and we have to vote for you?
That's right.
Well, the more you get in the town, the more people that you're gonna have to fill this thing.
Well, sure. But we're not moving that many, not this one.
Now, most of them are gonna come out of precinct two.
Two, correct, yeah, but we're not moving by that town. But if you want to, she has on here.
Well, and there's metal thing there in this way, how this goes south.
The reason this was put in here on three foot was a simple fact, Commissioner, John Mann was commissioner at that time, and that's where he lived. He owned all this property. And so what they did is they sorted that out, so he wouldn't have to lose a commissioner.
You have to live in your precinct.
You have to live in a precinct. That's where you got set up.
Yeah, like if we were doing redistricting, moving the line, say, let's do it this way, the next time it's precinct, and it's unlawful, so you gotta work.
What they did. Yes, what we did.
He wasn't.
That's correct. They changed the line, but they left him, they changed it to 84, so that there's something going on. Now, what Jed and I did was that I took over County Road 500 and 100. And he took, or 100, and he took over 3 because it already has a stream. But they couldn't vote for him. So I would sometimes, when I found that out, I went to him, we talked to court, and we just had an agreement that I would take care of 100 and Jed would do his.
And probably a lot of you explain that now, so.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure. But anyway, that's.
So I think we're going on that, so we talk.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, then shall we adjourn the meeting and let you two without me and Jackie?
Do you agree that I have read anyone that you look at as a chance?
Well, as we got forward, I'm indifferent. I mean, my goal was to get that under 10% as illegal. The rest of it is however you guys want to.
Yeah. My thing, the reason I want the meeting is there's no point of getting in there Monday.
No.
No,
because Monday, the public's gonna be saying what they think, and we need to be taking that into consideration with our best thought, and then come up with a decision. Because we then have to publish maps, better maps than this in the newspaper, and start reprinting voter forms.
I will say, we don't have time. I thought, of course, it's his company, but I thought Jim Collison out. Even
You know, in hindsight.
We did. Yeah. It is over.
I mean, we gotta do it now.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, but anyway, I mean, yeah, we talk to Jack and find out this exactly what things are.
Well, I move we adjourn.
Yeah, second.
We have a motion, a second to adjourn, all in favor, aye. Meeting's adjourned.